So, can I just clarify something? You know, when it's in the top right-hand corner, it says one. Is it not? Does it not mean one person signed in?
No.
Oh wow. Okay.
So we had around 20 people signed in, at least, because
Okay.
it's like a ticker. It's not.
Ah.
That's the only way I can describe it. I think it's a ticker,
Okay.
but I would like to end it on us speaking without it cutting out.
Yeah, I agree.
Um,
Are you gonna edit it together?
into what? No, the last conversation that we had, the last 20 minutes, when it got a bit more spicy on eroticism, I think that's been lost.
No.
Yeah, because there's no other way of going back now because they've changed the system. Because usually it allows him to save it at the end of the live.
Yes. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
It allows him to save it at the end of the live, which is what's happened. But because of internet connection issues or whatever it was, it just refuses to save it.
Is it possible? Do you have an iPhone?
I do.
Are you allowed to do? You can record your screen? Is it time bound?
Like the thing about screen recording is I should have done it for the third one, but sometimes it's been so good today that I didn't actually feel like the need to. The other 2 hours are all on there.
Okay, no worries.
So I just thought it would be nice to reach this as a concluding point.
Yeah, agreed.
So yeah. What do we want to say?
No, I really enjoyed it. Nice, being able to. Oh, you said that's what I remember. What I wanted to say to you. You said before, not in this conversation, the live before that you talked about missing university and wanting to come back into academia. And I'm like, but this is academia, like us having this discursive space and talking through the topics and rationalizing. That is what academia, in the Grecian sense anyway, was always meant to do, about community. We now know academia as this neoliberal machine for profit, but I'm interested in stripping it back to its kind of sense of antiquity, where it's about knowledge sharing in a
Knowledge
community way.
production, interactions, discursivity, the seminar. I think we speak the same language, and I wanted to take this further. As I said in the first hour, me and Serena of Jordan Diaspora want to do a little conference, a webinar, where we talk about how to get people into academia. And I was like, I know exactly who'd love to get into that discussion with her teeth. It's going to be a closed discussion, hopefully in the first week of June.
Okay.
I'm going to try and organize it with with Serena and yourself, and we'll see who else wants to join in. I think that would be a good way of getting these juices into a more direct field of play, because then we can start talking about other things with other people as well. And Zoom would allow us that possibility. We need to share past the iron's heart, whilst everyone, even though against our will, has the wherewithal to take part.
And I think that's really important. I feel like just touching on that topic, and we are in this very stressful situation of a global pandemic and lockdown. But I think what is also highlighted to us, and we have to thank our disabled activists who have been telling us this all of the while, of how we use telecommunications and the internet as ways to make things accessible to people, and the global reach behind that. And I think it's maybe about using the structures that exist or the platforms that exist, but embedding it with our own agendas and our own narratives of how we want to organize and make things happen.
I agree. I totally agree. And I think it's about time that we stop trying to go about it by being timid, but all organize. I'm all about the organizing, Shiz. Love it. Organize together and just also support each other. A community of organization, support, and criticism.
Definitely. And I'm really big on the criticism and the intellectualism, because I always give a few examples. So this is not everybody, but I spend a lot more time on Twitter, so I'm noticing like this kind of growing anti-intellectualism that is existing, and it's really
It's existed
worrying
for a
me.
while in so many different cultures, and it's just not the best.
No, it's not. And like, one Twitter is a medium is what, 140 characters or 107 characters, so it does limit what you can say. So I take that, but I think there is this kind of not misunderstanding on the role of intellectual and critical thought and how important that is for community building and activism, and that people who love to talk about, say, someone like Angela Davis or Huey P. Newton or Oliver Morris, like these radical thinkers, they were all talents. They were all, you know, Angela Davis was described as being one of the most gifted students on her PhD faculty program.
That's what I mean. This is all what I mean. I mean, in the sense that they, like, it's a bastardization of crumbs from the master's table discussion that happens on social media. In short, that is what happens. It's the bastardization of crumbs from the master's table. And then you see people run with it thinking that they understand the terms like appropriation, where they don't understand the terms.
I get blocked a lot on Twitter. I think people hate me.
I think it's also thin-skinnedness. If you can't argue,
I get blocked a lot.
If you can't argue, you will block people. But sometimes,
I mean, I don't block people. I rarely block people. I just think it's really pointless. Because you can't block people in real life.
It doesn't serve you. I've only blocked an ex once.
I haven't even blocked any exes. I rarely block people. I get defriended and unfollowed and blocked all the time, which I'm okay with. I'm just like, okay, I said something, it touched a nerve, that's for you to deal with.
Oh, I just posted a picture of my face. I didn't know that was offensive to you.
So yeah, there is this growing anti-intellectualism, and on last Friday or Thursday, I stupidly engaged with a Facebook debate with someone. Hey Shira, that's one of my friends. Eid Mubarak. Oh, Eid Mubarak to all my Muslim family, by the way.
Of course. Eid Mubarak to everyone.
So yeah, I got into a really silly debate. This person's an artist. I won't name names or their discipline, but they're a black queer person, and they wrote for me, and I should just read their status and moved on, right? They wrote how Rishi and who else did they mention? Basically, all of the POCs in the Tories were like how that representation was a good thing, and that we should be happy about seeing people like that in these positions of power. And I'm like, you know, they hate you like because you're not white. I was like,
yeah, they do.
I was like, yes, there are brown people and particularly Asian people, but brown people in positions of power. But those brown people are not serving our needs as black people and other brown people. It's not even about like anti-blackness or anything like that. It's about the fact that there are people of color in these positions of power who are enacting some of the most hostile and racist policies that disproportionately affect people of color, especially those who are working class or poor. And how can you celebrate that as a good thing?
I can't disagree with you on any level of what you've just said, because they've window dressed and they've outsourced to racialized bodies the work of white supremacy.
Without a doubt. I mean, the new immigration law that's coming in that's based on point system. How disgusting. Exactly. How
Australia has one of the worst immigration systems known to humanity. You know, it's illiberal in its liberalism.
And you want to promote that as a good thing. So I said, maybe it was very close to the bone. I said, you know, they would happily deport you, right? And then that's what set
that's what set a whole load of
a conversation into a complete. And he was like, I'm British, they would never deport me. I was like, hello, Windrush. But also Shamima Begum, like, she wasn't deported, but she was stripped of her citizenship.
And she was born here.
And she was,
and her parents were born here, and her child is British.
I was like, when they want to, they will happily look at us and just like, no, can't. And so it just descended into this chaos between me and this person. And I was like, part of me was like, it was really distressing to be having this conversation with another Black person about their bizarre support of like
a lot of people ideology. Have psychoses.
But it goes back to not.
But it's
cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, but it's also trauma bonding.
Yes.
There's a lot of trauma bonding.
He's rolling his eyes because he knows about the conversation because I was telling him about it in real time. But he's probably like, oh, Janine, get over it. But I'm not over it because it really distressed me that I was speaking to another Black person, a person with, you know, an intersectional identity, they're queer. And, okay, I'm not queer, but, you know, they're experiencing a particular kind of lived reality that I wouldn't experience as a Black woman, or as a Black straight woman, should I say. And then they are, I forgot, and they're creative, right? They're creative. They're about, you know, asking those big questions in their practice, and they're upholding like conservative ideologies because it's a brown face in that to them. My brain was like, what the fuck are you on?
But it's happened before. Like there have been brown faces that have been the handmaidens of politics.
Exactly. Yes.
You know, of all sorts of policy. There are those who were the Sambos, and you know, other American examples can also be here for reference. But it's happened all over the place. It's not surprising that it happens here. For example,
no, it's not surprising. I think for me, the surprise was that it's about assumptions, and again, kinfolk.
Yeah.
But I'll just assume that there was a bit more criticality, and there wasn't. I'm just like, it's the bar that low that we're happy for any representation, just as long as it's not white, even if they are going to be inflicting the same violence. Like.
And why is the bar of representation so much more? Priti Patel, I call her pretty persistent offender for a reason. Because she does it with a smile and she gives no two shits, and she needs to give me back my £1,500 without my passport.
Wow. And that's the thing. It's like, I want to make it really very clear that it's not just like Asian people doing this. There's histories of Black people.
Kwasi Kwarteng.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to make that narrative very clear. It happens to be that we have 3 brown people in this particular position in our current here and now, but we can go back to other examples, and it's not brown people doing this. But I was going to say something. You said something in my brain, because my brain was just like, at the moment. Why? You asked why is representation, why is the bar so low? I think if I'm going to give this individual or individuals like him space and grace, it's because I think we're starved of any meaningful political activism. You know, we had the kind of Corbyn mania, but high key, low key, it was a very white, you know, middle class, blokish,
institution.
Yeah, kind of backing. And that's not a reflection on Jeremy Corbyn. So as an individual, I think his record shows otherwise, but as the machinery, he was backed by that, and we have to be really transparent. And that did not speak to Black and brown people at all.
It didn't. It actually put a lot back. That shit put a lot back. So many years. As soon as he got in, I was like, this guy's not going to get elected, and he's going to ruin things from the inside.
Yeah. And I mean, I haven't read the full report, I only read snippets, but you know, we now know there was actual conspiracy in the Labour Party to not have Jeremy Corbyn be electable as a you know, Prime Minister, right? Like his own party was out to, or individuals in his own party was out to sabotage him. But taking that narrative aside, the whole machinery at hand was kind of like white leftist pro. Who are like, I've interacted with some of those boys from this White Boys Momentum six, you know.
Oh yeah, I went to university filled with them.
Yeah, you went to be
They wouldn't send my Labour. I was the Labour Society president of Queen Mary in my second year. They didn't attend it because they called it a what was it? A middle class boys club because of my accent. And I grew up in Newham, and I'm working class.
But it shows you, like, I can't stand, I just can't with them. That doesn't surprise me as a narrative to project on you, which is really about their anxieties, right? Because then if they go into those spaces, they get exposed. But yeah, like Corbyn was not electable amongst the traditional black and brown POC Labour voters because of that really hardcore left momentum. There's white communist bros in it, like fight it up for the black and brown vote, and which is why you see a lot transpire to Boris. That's, you know,
it's really sad, but they were like, I'd rather have a what's the word? I'd rather have a zealot. No, I'd rather not have a zealot and have a fool. Which is what I said so often. Do you guys not understand the amount of institutional damage you're doing by allowing the perpetuation of a Conservative government for technically a third term?
Yeah.
Because I can't do the somersaults of who got unseated, who followed who, what follows what.
But it's been 10 years. It's been a solid 10 years.
10 years of Tory rule, Tory mismanagement, and I'm just tired of it.
But I think, unfortunately, we're going to have another term. If we look at the legacy of Margaret Thatcher, well, not Margaret Thatcher personally, but the Tories from 1979 up until 1997.
That was a long time.
That's a long time.
John Major, like, really middle of the road Tory to get himself unelectable. And he didn't even do very much bad shit.
Exactly. In the grand scheme of what he can do,
of things, John Major was okay. We allowed that one. But the other ones that followed him have just been untold disasters. And Boris Johnson is just untold body count. You know, like, he had the opportunity to do better by us. And I'm really upset by the fact that people don't understand how the fact that he weaponizes his illness. Oh, I was ill. You were not ill when you took some of those decisions. That had the effects. You were not ill when you refused to take the economy and put it into mothballs properly with the right checks. You know?
Totally, but yeah.
They're supposed to totally exonerate him from having any personal responsibility. I love the fact that he now prefaces every single answer that he makes in Parliament with, due to my personal circumstances, I understand perfectly well what it is to go through COVID. I was like, you were lucky to have survived, mate. But that was due to your own stupidity for shaking hands.
Well, this is the thing, but again, goes kind of circling back to the grooming of predators, right, and the grooming of us as victims, is that we will accept that. People won't question that, you know. People are not going to be like, well, actually, Boris, you broke your own rules, and unfortunately, you pay the consequences of them by
Dominic Cummings all over again.
Dominic
Cummings all over again.
Well, this is it.
Getting the freedom. He's probably going to get knighted after he leaves. To be, you know, like, all of them seem to
Nothing's
get
going to happen to him.
I don't
What is
know,
going to happen
because
to neither
Boris
of them?
Johnson's being asked the same question by every single journalist. So they asked something about the death rate and all that stuff. And, you know, peace be upon those who have died and all the rest of it. And then you get into a whole discussion of, you know, Dominic Cummings, that guy, why is he still there? And he replies, well, he was looking after his child. In that drawl that he makes where he's just like, I'm tired and I'm going to take my teeth at you because I've already answered your stupid question.
I think, yeah. I mean, let's talk about something else. I can't talk about Boris anymore.
Yeah, my mouth is starting.
We break the rule.
We did. We said no Boris, but we did it 3 times now. But it's almost like, okay, let's talk about something happy for the last 10 minutes of the discussion. What are you watching? What are you listening to music?
What am I watching? Okay, so I have been watching oh my god, glossing for pleasure, 90s American films.
Like
films. So I've actually been revisiting
Tyler Perry
of Spike Lee.
Okay, not Tyler Perry there.
No. Oh my gosh, I watched that film that he has on Netflix. It is awful. You know, it's so bad it's good.
Yeah.
Because I watched it to the end, so he captivated me. You know, I didn't click off halfway through, right?
Oh god, that's
but no,
funny.
not Tyler Perry. I've been watching Spike Lee's films in the 90s, and I've now come to the conclusion that his body of work is bloody brilliant. It's shocking that he hasn't got an Oscar, but there are reasons why.
Very late. He did.
Oh yeah, he did. Sorry, yeah, very late.
I was like, come on, don't do
Don't take it away
now.
from him.
Don't take it away.
He got the Oscar like last year, right? Like 2019.
Yeah, but after the whole "what the Oscars is too white" controversy.
Sorry, Spike. I didn't mean to take away your glory. My bad. So I have been watching I watched Girl 6 after I finished doing the dishes. But I watched Boomerang. That's not actually a Spike Lee film. That's with Eddie Murphy. But I was just watching like School Days. I'm watching his 90s stuff, and I was like, wow, like he was trying to do something here or trying to present something here. It's really interesting. I was watching.
Did you watch Do the Right Thing?
Did
you watch Do the Right Thing?
Yes, I watched Do the Right Thing. I watched Bamboozled. I watched She Hate Me, which I decided is my favourite Spike Lee film. It's really weird. It's about a lesbian couple who, not to give the narrative away, who convinces her former ex-boyfriend to help impregnate other lesbian couples, and they create a business. Yeah, it sounds awful, but it's actually really good. It's a really clever film.
I'm sure it's quite wholesome.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
If there are any lesbians who want to be who want my progeny, I'm here.
Pretty much. I charge you a lot of money for it, but I'm here.
Yeah.
It was an interesting film actually about gender and sexual relations. I'm like, Spike, you're trying to give us that range. I see you. You're trying to give us.
He's got the whole range.
You know, it kind of goes down after Chirac, but you know, it's all good.
Oh yes, Chirac with the Leicester nonsense.
Yes. And then I was watching how Stella got her groove back. And then I was watching Waiting to Excel, so I'm kind of getting into...
You know what? I'm going to do a binge of... Instead of reading all of Virginia Woolf, I'm going to now watch all of Spike Lee.
I want to shout out to my friends. One is my friend Sid, and the other is my friend Chloe, because it's between having conversations with these two people that we started independently of each other, watching the films to talk about them as like points of reference of like, what was happening in the 90s? That's interesting. Again, but I need to get into Black British films.
No, we do. Not just.
I need to get. There's some Black British films.
Mississippi Masala, which was an interesting one, but that was in America. We had a British version of that.
Was a what?
We had there was Mississippi Masala.
Oh no, I didn't know about that. Which
is a racial film or race-based film, but there was another There was like I'm not sure what time these two happened. I think what's his face Washington, Denzel Washington.
Yeah.
But there's a British film. I can't remember. There was like which had a similar sort of twang to it. Don't quote me on these things because I'm not as good with film as I am with art history.
No worries. Yeah, I was thinking about like, would it be cool if we had some kind of like film club watching these like 90s films that are quite seminal. I want to watch. I've seen Daughters of the Dust, but I want to try and watch that again. So basically, I'm just trying to like catch up on these like really important 90s films, black 90s films.
But again, it's about the canon, isn't it? If you're on the writer, you're trying to read the canon. You're trying to be that girl who has.
I am, because I'm interested in that black canon. You know, like what is the kind of like black cultural production? Yeah, the context, and you know, I don't want to negate America.
But we haven't even talked about like who are our version of Spike Lee's. You know, like I think I always say this because I want to know. Because I feel like when I try and interact with conversations with some people within the industry, they're like, well, there was this person. Like, you know these people. Why don't you talk about them a bit more? You know,
it's one of the biggest tragedies. Now, I always use this as an example because I mean, I'm too embarrassed my own self. I won't name this person, but she was a filmmaker from the Black Arts movement. I won't say which collective, but it's a very famous one. And I'd known her for a while, right? So I see this woman, used to talk to her, we had a really nice vibe. I didn't know who she was. Thought her name didn't mean anything. I read an article, a journal article, and I was like, hold on a minute. Saw the picture. I was like, emailing her on the, like, she was never like, do you not know who I am? Like, she never gave that energy.
They are so humble.
They are so humble. Like, those black, and I was like, you look at their catalogue of work between the 80s and 90s, and they're producing the most amazing thing, and then maybe that's another conversation, they got dropped off, and then
we haven't even
come into contact with them.
We haven't even had it. We must have it. We must have it. Not tonight, though. I think we've done.
We should have it, yeah, but like, that's happened to me twice, and each time when I've come to realise who they are.
I did it with Claudette Johnson. I put my hand up. I've done it with Claudette Johnson. She's always so nice to me, and we're always drinking together. And it's just like, hey, Eduardo, hey, Claudette. I'm sorry that I didn't know you were a great painter, and I love the easel. But
yeah,
so we have to admit these things. We have to admit these things.
We have to, because I've done it twice, and it's embarrassing. And I shouldn't have to read a book to then be like, oh my gosh, that person's so important. I should have known that. But then that's, again, around the erasure of our existence in design schools.
And the fact that, like, we're not taught enough, apart from Benjamin Zephaniah, which is not even a bad thing that we're taught him, because he's quite controversial in his own life. But there's such a lack of... I remember when we had the Labour version of the comprehensive reading syllabus, and we had people like Benjamin Zephaniah, the woman that wrote Search My Tongue, you know, all of that stuff. And now they've reverted back to the 1950s.
Well, that's lost again, and then you go to university, and it's not even...
That's going to be a mindfuck for a whole generation.
It is.
And then realising that they've been lied to all the way through their education. Well, so my parents got taught all of this, or my friends got taught all of this, and I'm being taught this nonsense.
But it also means that when these are the same, when I'm starting to see them, now that I'm teaching, these are the same ones that are coming to university, and they're aggy. Okay, they're aggy, and they're expecting a diverse curriculum, an inclusive curriculum, and they're like, no, I'm not paying $9,000 a year for you to be teaching me this.
Which is good. Agitate. Get the curriculum more diverse. Anyway.
They're coming in, and my first years on the course that I teach, they came in, look, They haven't even been there for academic year and they're already making, and they have every right to do so, all kinds of demands about what they're not getting on the curriculum. And they're getting younger and they're going to be more fierce and more demanding and more critical because they're not getting that content in secondary school. They're not getting it in college. They are using social media, rightly or wrongly, for all the conversations we had previously. But social media is the place in which they're getting this radical alternative education. And
they're not going to come with the P's and Q's. Radical education never comes with P's and Q's. It comes with a sledgehammer and it cracks nuts.
They're coming in and they're making their demands. They're asking those bigger questions. They want to see more representation, not just on the curriculum, but in the staff, you know? And if universities were smart, they will respond to it now, but it's gonna get left, and then we're gonna see another re-emergence of why is my curriculum white. It might not be that, it might be something else, but that movement is gonna come back again in a couple of years. Because what's happened now with lots of universities is they put, you know, jobs like mine in place. They've, you know, diversifying, they're decolonizing the curriculum, but that's not going to be enough for the next generation or two that are coming through, because they want to see.
They're gonna want real change. They
want real deep structural change,
not just the superficial stuff. Like, oh, let's invite the same tutor that tutors every other university to our university to tutor our students. Let's not train anyone.
Literally, like I always, what would be 2020? So 3 years ago, I was doing this project with young people at London College of Fashion, and there was this like little white girl, blonde, blue-eyed, you know, little white girl, and Anam from the BBFA collective came in to do a talk about her practice, right? And so Maisie's name, she puts her hand up. I'm expecting her to talk about, oh, what did you study at university? Or Maisie says to Anam, how did you navigate structural racism in the fashion industry? She's 14, a little white girl from Essex.
Oh yeah, great.
How, you know, but like, she's learned that language from somewhere. She's reading something to even understand not just racism, but like structural racism, you know.
Yeah.
And she has, you know, the eloquency to talk it. So this is 3 years ago. Maisie's now like 17, 18. She's going to go to university. She's already knows what structural racism is.
She's going to be pulling up the whole establishment by its petard.
And it's just as well, it's not just students of colour. Before we've seen students of colour really take on that hard labour of lifting and challenging and pushing, what we're going to start seeing is actually young white students sharing that labour, asking, you know, those questions, understanding their privileges and their proximities to do that work.
And it's happening. The thing is, when we have this conversation, is we sometimes forget that our allies exist.
Yeah.
And we need to also be kind to them, because when they enter into this discussion, it for some people, they see it as racial, what did you call it? Racial something or the other. Racial, when you go against your own race.
Oh, like race traitors.
Yeah, race traiting.
Yeah.
And that's quite a big thing that people don't actually get. You know, why are you giving up all of your privilege to these people?
Totally, I agree with you. I do. I always say that my allies are my students. The white students that I teach demonstrate more allyship to me than some of my colleagues. No shade, but that's the truth. Apart from a few here and there, like as a collective body, right? And a lot of them follow me on my Twitter and my Instagram. So they also see me outside the context of team, which I'm like, it's open, whatever. And so we are seeing, like, in particularly white students coming with a different set of knowledges than perhaps any other white students beforehand. Maybe the other equivalent could be like white students in the 60s or 70s.
Do you not also think it's the thing that happens because of the fact that we have more representation? As in, there's more of us, as in brown bodies, in different places doing the stuff that we're doing now? And
yes, I think
we have...
I think that's true, and I also think there is also elements of social media that has also infiltrated that space and Tumblr kind of started off that kind
Love
of
Tumblr.
eruption, and
Yeah.
now it has translated to Twitter and Instagram of sharing, you know, like bite-sized critical posts kind of thing. And I am
generation. Politicize the whole generation in the world.
Yeah, for real. You know, people are following, you know, the Monroe Bergendorfs of the world, and you know, people like that who are, you know, Yara, I can't remember her surname, from Blackish. Like, they're following, you know, celebrities, so to a certain extent, who are, you know, using their platforms to raise social issues, to raise social awareness. And so we have to acknowledge that there's probably going to be white people, white young people following these same celebrities. And then expecting a transference of that into
the academic world, where they can also discuss it in relation to Jane Austen.
Precisely.
Okay, guys. I think I'm going to allow Janine to go and wash the dishes. No, no shade. No shade, absolutely. But this has been a very interesting discussion.
Likewise, thank you for inviting me again.
No, it's a pleasure. I think we've made up for the fact that your tape got ruined, let's just say, once before, and we've put the record straight on a few things. We should discuss, what was it that we wanted to discuss that we didn't get the chance to? Representation, was it? Or no? We did representation to filth, but we haven't discussed the Black arts movement in the
I think that's I feel like if we do that, I'd love to invite, like, there's a few other people, like B would be really interesting. She has tea to spill, I have tea to spill.
We can do it on we can do it on like a webinar.
Yeah, I think hopefully, because
we'll do a webinar on it. Let's talk to the right people. Let's talk about it offline and not try and drag anyone out of their beds.
Because there's so much there's erasure of certain individuals, and you're like, wait, how? There's so much, like, on the Black Arts movement that I just did a bit of research at the beginning of the year, and I was just like,
what?
This is what? Yeah, like,
what?
You know? So yeah, that's a whole
I need to get
whole
into
conversation.
Bee's on this thread, by the way. She's on this conversation. So
is she?
I'm gonna try and speak to her because I listened to her. She said she was listening to something, and I listened to it. So I'm gonna go and have a conversation about it with her.
Okay.
Hopefully, if she will answer me at this time. But no one's got work tomorrow, so what?
Well, I need to know what this issue is because I live with my mum, and she's like, give me those side eyes. You know.
I know that feeling. But guys, this has been the second tranche, like the third week that I've done an Instagram live-a-thon. I'm taking a week off because it's my birthday.
Oh.
On Wednesday. I'll be 27 on the 27th.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So, it only happens once, and I'm trying to organize. I have to organize it today because it's only in 3 days' time. So I need to work out what I'm going to actually do for it, apart from drink in my own house without anyone.
You're going to have a Zoom party?
Sorry?
A Zoom party?
A Zoom? Yes, I'm doing a Zoom party, and you guys will all be invited. I'll send you all the invites, and you can join at your leisure and at your pleasure. Anyway, ciao, guys.
See you later. Have a good evening.
You too.
Bye, everybody.